Welcome to PropTech Pulse, the podcast that takes the pulse of prop technology in multifamily. I'm your host, Shelly Robinson, and each week we'll be diving deep into innovations, challenges, and the future of work in property technology and multifamily. From AI-driven property management to blockchain and real estate, we're here to explore how technology is reshaping the way we live, work, and invest in multifamily communities. Whether you're a property manager, a tech entrepreneur, an executive, or even simply curious about the future of living spaces, PropTech Pulse is your weekly dose of insights and inspiration. So let's sync our rhythms and get on with the show. It's time to take the pulse. Welcome to PropTech Pulse. Today I have Baum from Town Properties with us today. Anne, welcome to the podcast.
Shelly, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
I saw you at NMHC, so glad to meet you there, and was thrilled that you wanted to come on and talk about PropTech and marketing and those kinds of things today. So why don't we kick off the podcast and you can kind of tell our guests a little bit about your journey that's kind of brought you to this point today.
Sure. So my name is Baum. I'm the Vice President of Marketing at Town Properties. I've been there for 5 years and 5 months. Or maybe, 5 months. And really what brought me to Town Properties was I did not start out in property management. I started at which I think is a common story. I started my career at a digital marketing agency in Denver called Location 3, just in case any Location 3 people are listening. But I worked with many clients there, but during my time, we really started working with franchise systems and creating digital marketing programs for franchise systems. And franchise systems are interesting because they're individual businesses, but you're buying into a system, you're buying into a brand. And one of the really important things to make that system work is brand integrity and ensuring that franchisees, when they're marketing, are following geographic guidelines, in their contracts. When they buy a franchise, there's actually geographic guidelines. And so anyway, we started building these scalable marketing systems that allowed each franchisee to have their own customized marketing within their own geography, but it still, ran up through that franchise brand. And so during that process, I really just kind of found a love of digital marketing, data, scalability, marketing local businesses, but also understanding that they live within a brand. And so I was there for many years. Then we moved to Cincinnati. And so I started working at a SaaS platform that basically would help nonprofits create walk and run registrations and websites. And so my job there was to partner with the nonprofits to help them market their events. And so again, I found myself right back in this, I'm helping these national brands kind of at the local level market themselves. And then I went to an auction company that had pickup locations and, built up their marketing department. And all of that experience with kind of localized marketing, building scalable systems, building departments, reimagining departments brought me to Town Properties. And I'm so grateful. I love multifamily.
That is a great story. And I look at that kind of translation and that brand consistency and franchises really being transferable into multifamily as well, because a lot of properties are a brand extension of the main brand. So that's actually a really great story. And I think our industry needs that complementariness of that deep expertise from the industry as well as that deep expertise from without. It's a powerful punch when you can kind of combine that together.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm not going to lie. My learning curve was steep, when I came, but once it all got married together, it really, it's been great.
I would imagine you have a lot of sage wisdom that you can share with others who are pivoting into multifamily. Do you have any quick nuggets that you can share to people that are coming into the industry from outside?
Yeah, I do. Our training team did a wonderful job of setting up me up for success by going and out in the field and talking to people and understanding their challenges. I wish this in all of my jobs, by the way, not just this one, but I wish I had actually, maybe next one I'll learn, right? But I, I wish that I'd gone and worked at a property, because that was my largest learning curve, kind of understanding like the nomenclature and the processes and the challenges and just the constant chaos and expectations. And so that would be my advice.
That's really great advice. And, day in the life really
Yeah.
also helps everybody do their job. So that's great. Great advice. Love that. So to kick us off, I always ask kind of future in the bottle questions. What are kind of the top things you see changing in multifamily and prop tech in the next 5 years? And
Yeah.
why?
Oh my gosh, yeah, a magic bottle. So gee, magic. So, I think I'll speak more from a marketing standpoint, but I think that I'm hearing several conversations happening right now. I'm hearing, and we're going through them as well, and we'll talk a little bit about that later. But I'm hearing conversations around data, and kind of how do we use all of this data? How do we bring the multiple data points that we have? We were talking earlier, I can count like 29 data points that we have, 12 data sources, by the way, just from a marketing standpoint. And so, how do we bring all of our data sources together in kind of a unified platform? There are prop tech companies that are doing this right now, by the way, but I think it's still kind of a newish concept. So, I can really see that becoming more common. Like, oh, of course you have a unified data platform. Of course you have one source of truth across all of the business functions within a company. And then the second thing I think we're going to see really is, again, we're starting to hear conversations about it, but this idea of brand and customer experience and what does that really mean from a property management standpoint, and also how is it structured? There are a lot of conversations about like, should we have one brand like the franchise model? Should we introduce, you'll hear people talking, should we introduce franchising into property management? Or should we have kind of unique brands that group different asset types together based on ultimately who the prospective resident is? And then also, how do we create seamless customer and resident experiences? And how do we track that? And right now, all of that data is segmented across multiple platforms, multiple functions within a property. So, or excuse me, within a company. So I could almost see a shift where, and again, we're starting to see it now where I've seen titles where it's like VP of marketing and customer experience or resident experience. And so I think, yep, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure you've seen that too. And so, I can see that being a really big shift where that entire ecosystem l- lives under the direction of one department, of course, with everyone else's input.
That's really good insight. On the data, do you think, having all of that data in one place and in a fashion of becoming more automated, do you think it'll change how you work and the decisions that you make day to day, or even how you may, like, I was even thinking like that could even tie into how you even trigger your spend or your budgeting. Do you think that's going to continue to evolve?
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. I mean, I think something that we've really started looking at, on our end is being more seasonal, and not necessarily seasonal from a renter search standpoint, but seasonal from when leases are expiring at our properties, and trying to understand, how do we ensure that our marketing is set up for success, so that if we're predicting that in a given month we're going to have more move outs, then we will have enough leads to, in theory, get enough leases to fill in the move outs. Then how do we kind of predict that out for the coming year? So yeah, I think, but that's a manual process. I mean, we did that for budget season last year, and it was basically pulling lease data from the year before, then pulling an average expiration date, and then, or not expiration, I'm sorry, renewal percentage, and then you get the idea. I can hardly even keep track of it. Like, it was a very cumbersome process. So,
Yeah.
and other industries have been doing that. I'll tell you a quick story. We I told you we used to work with franchise systems, and we set up a system. I mean, this was like 10 years ago. It was a lawn care company. We had a system that basically, based on geography, we knew what the weather was going to be. And we knew that if the weather was raining, then less people were interested in lawn care. But if it was sunny, that more people were interested in lawn care. And we would adjust our daily budgets based on that, based on the weather forecast.
Yeah.
And so, to answer your question in a super long way, yeah, 100%. I think all of that connectivity I think it's going to help all of us be looking at the same data together. When we're having a conversation with someone in the field, are we looking at the same report? Are we looking at the same benchmarks? And then so that's step one. And then step two, are we making really innovative decisions because of it?
Yeah. Getting really targeted and focused. Do you think roles are going to change in marketing in the next 5 years?
Yeah. Yeah. If the prediction of the responsibility of marketing expanding to customer experience comes true, then I don't think roles will change, but we'll see additional roles.
Yeah. That's
Um,
good. There's so much talk, I think, or even concern in the industry of like AI starting to take roles away. But I think at the same time, in any industry, and I think about like my dad was in the automotive industry in Michigan, and his role was a pattern maker, which evolved into a new role of a CAD designer, right? It changes, but new opportunities always come. And I think, that can bring comfort to everybody as long as they're upskilling. You just need to upskill and continue to evolve your skills over time as AI comes in.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I welcome, you know, AI automation. We're actually kind of in the infancy in our department of asking ourselves, and I know automation and AI are different, but
Yeah.
we're starting to ask ourselves, like, what tasks can we automate to free ourselves up to do different work? I think there's a lot of, let's say, for example, we get a request to change hours for a property. That's a manual task. I mean, that could take 15, 20 minutes.
Across
And
many
more
different
across
things that
many
it's not
different
tied
things.
to. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
And so I don't know if AI or automate, like, I don't know which one of those falls into that bucket, but if some of those tasks could, from a marketing standpoint, be removed from our plate, one, it would reduce friction between, our job is to serve the field and to serve the properties in our portfolio, and anything that allows us to do that better, faster, with less friction,
Yeah.
good for us.
Absolutely. Faster decisions, higher value work, more time
Yep.
with service and residents, less efficient, more efficiency. That's really, really good. Any advice to any prop tech companies right now in the marketing space that you like wish they would listen to on these topics of data and automation and efficiency?
Yeah, I mean, so, something that I'm working on and is this idea of, we've done a really good job at looking at performance by marketing source and understanding how many leads, what the conversion rates are, cost per lease and I know we're all in different journeys with in regards to that, but from our standpoint, we feel like we've done a pretty good job of understanding, both on a macro and micro level, how our sources are performing. And so now what we're doing is we're kind of going back to the foundation of marketing, and we're looking at the entire marketing funnel and really trying to understand, what does the awareness stage look like, and what data points do we need to be pulling in order to measure our awareness stage, our consideration stage, purchase, product delivery, use, and then renewal. And so What I would say to any prop tech companies is that there's an opportunity to be able to pull in those multiple, 29 data points, 12, 12 different sources. There's probably more, by the way. That's just like my very like rudimentary spreadsheet, like
Sure.
V1. And so I think as we're continuing to talk about brand customer experience, being able to show all of those data points in a story together will really be useful for marketers and for operations as well. I mean, because then the goal is to be they're not siloed. They work together seamlessly. So
I kind of even think about like you look at online reputation scoring and all of that, and how like even starting to tie those data points into
yeah,
what it triggers for marketing, or what it triggers to, you have to spend this much more to get a resident when your score is this low, and starting to compare those things. Then that goes back to resident experience, right? And tying that back into the need to tie it together, because it all communicates into the brand and into the value. And it's been, I used to call it mystery meat when I was back. It was like a decade ago, but when you first started getting your ownership group would be like, please explain clearly to me what I'm spending and what I'm getting for it. And you'd be like, well, we can look at this and we can look at this over here. And they're like, this is mystery meat. So it's really eliminating the mystery meat of all of your efforts and tying it all together.
yeah, absolutely. And with clear benchmarks, and I think it- again, yes, telling that holistic story. And by the way, after you look at that funnel, each point that might be below a benchmark might have 20 other data points that, so you might say like, gosh, we're seeing a challenge between, our awareness going to consideration. So we're, why are people viewing our ILS listings, but they're not then going to our website? Or why are they seeing us on Google, but then not going to our website or going to the ILS listings, whatever the case. And so, but to dive into that, it's not just like, oh, well, this is broken. Like, then you have to figure out, like, well, am I using all of the right, is the language I'm using, one, correct for the property and the audience? Two, is it consistent across like 20 different platforms? Like, I don't even know. So all of a sudden, each of these like funnel stages can technically offshoot into like
A giant spider web.
a giant spider web. But I mean, that
Yeah.
would be so like we can do that manually, but we don't have the power to do that manually. Like we need help. We need technology to help us. Like, hey, you have a problem. People are viewing they're getting an impression of your listing on an ILS, but they're not looking at your listing. Here's what it looks like. Here's what we think it, and having them all on the same page. And you could just be like, oh, well, no wonder we're not representing the property well, or the pictures are all different. And you get the
Oh,
idea.
no, totally. But you're speaking to so many people in the struggle that's out there. And a lot of times property managers are expected to continuously audit all of their marketing
Yeah.
sources. And it's not possible all the time. They've got packages, upset residents, they've got, eviction, they've got all kinds of things they're juggling. So anything that would help, to me, there's a big opportunity there of really tying it all together, and being almost automated auditing would be a giant win.
Yes.
Going out and scouring the web, and giving alerts if there's disparate or disconnect in anything that you're pushing out there.
Yes. Shelly, I would love that because honestly, call tracking numbers,
Oh god.
always mysteriously, there's always one mysterious, and then it's so embarrassing to have to be like, no, I swear, like we set that up properly. But that would be, I don't know if you've ever worked with any like local listing systems that have basically accuracy reports. They'll bring back name, address, plate, but that would be amazing if we had a system that had all of our tracking numbers, and it would go back out to the individual sources and say like, hey, your tracking number on Zillow is incorrect. And yeah,
You get those mystery phantom numbers that are out there somewhere. You'd be like, I had 30 calls from this number, and you can't figure out where it's from. And it's like
how did that happen?
people trying to get a hold of, a pet a pet place, not even like related to your property. So yeah, I feel the pain. Vanity numbers.
Yeah. And again, they're important because we're all talking about attribution and making sure you know the right thing. And
Yeah.
but yeah, then there's so much human or technical error because a lot of times you're pulling one number from one system to another system and it's not as seamless as it should be.
No, too many areas along the way. Hopefully someday all that's automated too.
Yeah, that's our wit. This is what we're asking for right now, right?
Hear us.
Yeah.
Hear us now. Oh, and okay. So then this kind of moves me into the next segment. And do you think there's any underrated prop tech solutions in marketing right now that you wish everybody was using? That's one of these things where you use it and you can't believe everybody's not using it as a marketer.
Um, that's a hard question. That is okay. So I think from like a marketing asset standpoint, and we're not 100% there either, but like I'm still surprised about like photos, 3D tours,
Yeah.
the ability to stage photos pretty easily. And so I think some of those very like basic visual assets that can help really, communicate what a property is. When those don't exist, it's surprising to me. I
See it
think,
all the time. Yeah.
yeah, I do. I mean, and again, like, it happens to the best of us, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's all. I think that that's always an interesting one. So that's more of like kind of I guess a service that's available. And now a lot of people are talking about you have to have unit level media. You have to have individual.
I've been hearing that. I think the virtual touring and remote leasing, people want to know the actual apartment view.
Yeah.
Like that's why I would have a very difficult time renting a place without actually seeing the unit. And I don't know if that's because of my Gen X kind of level and that's just changing. But even with really good photos and tours, I think I would still have a difficult time renting it with trust, right? Without actually seeing it. It's hard.
Yeah, no, you want to see exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, it's the same with a house. Some people do buy houses, through, but they'd at least want to see the house that they're. They at least want to see the house they're buying, not like a version of the house that they're buying.
Yeah. Just model, but it's model standards, but not actual unit. That's always my favorite. And you're like, okay, is it from 3 renovations ago, or is it this?
Right.
Yeah.
And by the way, that's hard for the site team to have to explain. I mean,
Oh yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I would hate to.
Customer experience, right? Yeah, totally. It's so true. Oh my God.
Don't make me explain to someone that like the carpet in their unit isn't updated. But it is like I don't want to. But
Yeah.
so I think that'll be, and again, that's a pretty kind of basic thing. And then, I think that there are kind of platforms that are used in other industries, like automation platform. We talked about automation for a little bit, but like HubSpot, I know is a really big company. Salesforce, they have a lot of kind of marketing products. And so I don't know if I think I'm interested to see if there's kind of an adoption of non-multifamily solutions within multifamily.
Interesting. Yeah. Things that can flex and yeah. I keep hearing a theme around companies seeking simplification as a theme. Is that something that resonates with you as well?
Yeah, kind of the idea of like an integrated, unified tech stack. Yeah.
How do you make this easier for everybody? Do you find right now, like, have you rolled anything out from a marketing aspect in the technology sector that's been hard for your site teams to adopt? And kind of how do you drive change with that? And then what's the advice to prop tech companies that are providing those services as well?
Yeah, not really. We have a great team internally that rolls out our products, and so yeah, even if we kind of go and find the product. It ultimately goes through our training team, and they do a really wonderful job of vetting and making sure we have a seamless tech stack and our operations team. So I guess I would say, that we're fortunate in that regard. So
It's really important, right? So and that's a theme that I hear with my clients as well as the PropTech clients I work with too. It's providing that high level service, partnering with the owners and operators and saying, what do you need? And being able to provide it. Some companies don't have the teams that you do and then need that kind of support. So they're looking for providers to do that. And it's so good that you built that up so that you can have really good change management with your team. That's critical.
yes, yeah, like I said, we're very fortunate that we have that in place. So
Yeah, that's so awesome. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple quick hit questions.
yeah.
Are there any MarTech, PropTech tools that you can't live without day to day?
Oh my goodness. Well, I would say that we do have a dashboard right now that allows us to view our marketing performance from a source standpoint and a cost standpoint, brings
Yep.
all the data points together. So not the full funnel like we were talking about before, but a marketing from a marketing source standpoint. And that is really crucial for us because it allows us, again, that was something that previously we were pulling that data manually and then like mushing it together, and it was uh, anyway. And so yeah, I think to easily quickly be able to tell the story of what is happening from a marketing standpoint,
Yeah.
and it's transferable. We can share it with our RVPs. It can be shared with owners. It can be shared up the ladder. And instead of spending the time pulling that data, we're able to pull it quickly and then have conversations together about what it is and it is not working. So I'd say that platform for us is something that we can't live without.
That's a big one. And reducing a lot of manual hours, I'm quite sure.
Yes.
Any trends in multifamily right now that you think are overhyped and aren't going to go anywhere, or maybe a mixed bag?
No, you know what? No, because okay, no, that's interesting. That's interesting. No, because I think that I don't know how many property management company, and I'm speaking specifically from the property management standpoint, owner standpoint. There are a lot of PMCs, and we're each different. We each have a
Absolutely.
different portfolio, a different structure, a different purpose. Different value that we provide for owners if we're doing third party management. And
Yeah.
so, no, I don't think so, because I think ultimately each of the trends or ideas that we're hearing about might not have merit or validity for the industry as a whole, but because each of us is so unique and we are the same but different, no, I think it really just depends on your company. I think as long as you're not trying to adopt something that doesn't make sense for your company. I think maybe that would be my general statement. Like if you're trying to adopt something just because that's what's going on and it doesn't make sense for your company, then um then it's overhyped from that standpoint.
So when I work with prop tech founders, a lot of times they're like, so what's this industry and what are the customers like? And I usually have to go into this conversation about, well, there's really 5 to 6 customer types, right? You've got your REITs, you've got your hybrid, you've got your vertically integrated, you've got your ownership groups that don't operate, you got your third party fee. And then from there, you even get into size and even differential. And a lot of them do operate very differently and even make different decisions or even are structured different when you even get into personas. And a lot of times the hold strategies are different or the business goals are different or the funding structure is different and it drives it. So I think flexibility, back to prop tech companies that are listening to this podcast today, be flexible. Be
Yes.
flexible in your offerings and be flexible to listen to the needs of your clients because they're generally custom. They really are. It is a it is a unique industry in that way.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. If you ask, again, from a marketing standpoint, you ask 10 different companies how their marketing department's structured, you're getting very different answers.
So true.
Yeah.
So true. Any advice you would give to marketing professionals that are trying to get their arms wrapped around the rapidly changing um, landscape with MarTech and PropTech? Any advice?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would, if you're kind of having like analysis paralysis of what all should I implement, I think the the best decisions are the simplest decisions. And so if you go back to your core data set and, I think you can look kind of a portfolio level in this case, and you can see, what am I trying to accomplish? Like, because again, each marketing department, their goals, what they're trying to accomplish are going to be a little different. But like, if you look at what am I ultimately responsible for within the company,
Yeah.
and how can I improve that? And it might be that the answer is going to be different then, in terms of you might need to implement a new MarTech or PropTech. You might need to maybe streamline some of your processes, which might be a different technology. And so I would always, like I said, simplest is best. Pull the data, look at it, start asking questions, and then you can start to decide, does the solution that I'm thinking about make sense for me or not?
Yeah. When you first got into the industry pivot into multifamily, were there particular organizations or resources that really helped you get your arms and head around marketing in the industry?
Yeah, I mean, definitely internally, people were very helpful. And then I actually was introduced to Chris Johnson. I'm shouting him out. I was introduced in by a vendor to he was going to give me a reference for a product. And we started talking, and we would talk once a month, and we would just bounce ideas off of each other. And so he really became a resource for me. And through that, I realized how important it was to start finding, again, I had great resources internally, but really to be able to kind of go within this wonderful group. And so I went to a Yardi conference, like their marketing conference. I met amazing people. So I was just able to like continually meet new people and surround myself. And then I will say that one group that I'm a part of that I absolutely love. It's called Cadence Run Club, and it's we meet on Mondays and Fridays. Anyone can join. It's marketing specific, but the purpose is basically to get marketers, multifamily marketers, together and just talk about the challenges we're having and opportunities. And I just can't say enough about that group.
Oh, that is really awesome. That's a great shout out.
Yeah.
Well, Anne, thank you for joining the conversation today. And for those of you listening in, Anne and I are going to work on a white paper, and we'll drop that a couple days after the episode launches. So look out for that. And then, Anne, I hear you are also going to RetCon. I'm going to RetCon, so I will see you there. And where can our guests find you?
Yes. Find me on LinkedIn. I love people. I love collaborating. So I will write back to you. I will think I'm your best friend. So I'm sorry in advance. But if you're going to RetCon, hit me up. If you're going to AIM, Apartmentalize, OpTech, I'll also be at those things. Yeah, but if anyone ever needs anything, reach out. Shelly, thank you. I loved when we met. At MHC, I've loved our conversation, and I can't wait for our white paper.
Me too. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Bye.
And that wraps up another episode of PropTech Pulse. I hope this conversation has given you valuable insights and perhaps even sparked some ideas for your own PropTech journey. Remember, the future of multifamily is being written right now with every technological advance and innovative solution. So stay curious, stay connected, and keep your finger on the pulse of PropTech. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to PropTech Pulse on your favorite podcast platform and share this along with your colleagues. You can also find us on social media for bite-sized insights and updates. I'm Shelly Robinson, and until next time, let's keep innovating, disrupting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in PropTech and multifamily. Let's build it together.